to satisfy your gossiping needs. Well, we're showing you right there the elites have plans to shut it down, and that's all pursuant to prophecy too. And you'll see that in the latter part of the lesson. Let's go to the next one. Obama kill switch. Could U.S. turn off our internet like Egypt? The answer is yes. Not could, they will. Alright, here's some creepy timing. Legislation that grants the president internet killing powers to be reintroduced to a Senate committee. The revival of what's being called the kill switch internet, or the kill switch legislation, came the same day Egyptians faced a massive internet blackout brought on by their government. And you notice it says the legislation came the same day Egyptians faced a massive internet blackout. So this thing was all planned. This is no coincidence. Alright, what happened in Egypt was just a trial run for what they want to bring over here. That's all it is. As you've probably been reading, the Egyptian government shut down nearly all forms of digital communication in an attempt to stop the spread of demonstrations in their country. It's a scary situation, and it's going to be a scary situation over here. With some 20 million users who relied on the big four Egyptian ISPs, and ISP is an acronym for Internet Service Provider. You know, this is where the hub that they use to broadcast the internet to you. You know, every internet address or every website address has an ISP, an Internet Service Provider. Alright, for their internet connectivity now cut off from the rest of the world, and that's literally what's going to happen when they shut down the internet here in America. Pretty much people are going to be cut off from information, and the main hub of information, for lack of a better term, is the knowledge of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So all you brothers that have been bullshitting, you're going to be cut off from the information that you need to understand this truth. Alright, that's why it is written, well, we'll go into the scripture, but it's written, seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Now is the time for you to bone up on the information. Now is the time. You don't want to be like those 5 foolish virgins. Now is the time for you to study as much as possible. Again, it is written, study to show thyself approved. You know, it ain't the time for you to be on these girly websites gossiping like a little girl. Alright, reading on, it says, in the U.S. the kill switch bill is being described as legislation that would not grant Obama the same power Egypt's Hosni Mubarak is currently wielding against his dissenters. Rather, it's supposed to give the government, specifically the President of the United States, the ability to deal with cyber. And you know, they go into this cyber security BS, but I've already showed you it's all about control. Alright, next one is the Internet Kill Switch Bill. What it is and why it won't die. On the very day that the Egyptian government shut down an overwhelming majority of the country's internet service, Republican Senator Susan Collins began floating a piece of legislation which, if passed, would grant the president the power to do essentially the same thing in the U.S. The so-called kill switch bill was approved by the Senate's Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. And Homeland Security, they only care about one thing: control. Alright, because in Germany you had something called Fatherland Security, and that was the same thing that ran underneath Hitler. So it was all about control there. So it's the same thing in America, and it's no coincidence. And that shows you that what happened in under Hitler in Germany was controlled by the same and created by the same elites. You know, you had Fatherland Security in Germany. Now you have what in America? Homeland Security. So it's the same thing, and it's the same cast of characters, the descendants of the same cast of characters that's creating the same thing. All right, and that's what people are finding out, and that's one of the main reasons why they want to shut down the internet. The so-called kill switch bill was approved by the Senate's Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee back in December, but expired once the new Congress assumed power a few weeks later. And you heard about that. That was all in the news about the new Congress. Collins, who serves as the Republican ranking member of the committee, says the legislation won't allow the president to actually kill the internet, but would simply give him the ability to shut down critical infrastructure in the event of a serious cyber attack on the country. Again, like I said, the guy's word there is cyber attack. All right. If martial law were to be declared, there's a very good possibility that the internet would be shut down in order for control. Alright, now this guy here, Stuart Varney, he has a show on Fox News called Varney and Company, and basically it's him, and he has a panel, and he has guests which he interviews. Now on this particular show, they're discussing the shutdown of the internet in Egypt during the riots. So let's listen in and hear what they got to say.
Egypt's government did the technologically unthinkable to quell the country's riots. It shut down the internet. Shabani Joshi joins the company now. Is this a difficult thing to do?
It is difficult, and it hasn't been done in the history of the internet. So this is the first time we're seeing anything on this magnitude and scale, not just the entire internet being shut down in Egypt, but the mobile networks. And we've seen little snippets or little evidence episodes of this happen in places like China, Nepal, other sort of areas where there's a lot of commotion or there was conflict there. But we haven't seen it on this sort of magnitude.
Can you wave a magic wand and say, right, all you people, you've got no more internet, you've got no more cell phone?
Well, we've definitely seen it, because that's what Egypt is doing. Not to say that it's easy. You know, the way that it was done, basically right around 5:20 Eastern time on Thursday, the internet traffic was cut by 90% virtually in a minute.
How?
Now remember, this is a trial run. All right, what happened in Egypt was nothing but a trial run by the elites to see how it would go down in America if they were to shut down the internet. So let's listen some more.
Because the internet, the Egyptian government took a two-pronged attack. It kind of gets wonky. We don't want to get too much into the details, but basically they shut down the internet servers. It's called a DNS server and a border gateway server. So basically anything that is trying to get into to communicate within the Egyptian borders was shut down. And they can do this because we know that they worked with external providers, but there's also governmental controls that can make that possible. They took a two-prong approach, and that's what's happening. But that's not to say people can't get around it, because there are ways that people are getting around it, and that's happening right now in Egypt.
So there was a great big server farm someplace in Egypt, and they unplugged it.
They unplugged it, right. They had to get external facilitation to do this. You can't do it on your own because the government doesn't necessarily control all this stuff, but they work with corporations, and then they just basically said, shut it down. We have jurisdiction here. And then they went through other attempts to basically block traffic over the networks that they control.
This is going to be very important in the future, because these social networks create this revolutionary fervor.
Yes.
They create the contact between people.
And they're the only ones getting out the news,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
This is where we're relying on the news.
You got control.
Right. And it's never happened before. This is a precedent that we're seeing in the world.
Yeah, notice it said this is meaning the internet is one of the hubs where you get the news. You know, you have more people that watch the internet than basically TV news. Basically, the internet have taken over as a medium of information, taken over the television set. So by them shutting down the internet, that could produce mass control. And that's what it's all about with these elites. Remember, is that so-called New World Order is all about control.
Internet never happened before.
Yeah, we'll see it again, though, I'm sure.
Now you notice what he said at the end. He said, we'll see it again. This guy, this devil here, Varney, he says, we'll see it again, I'm sure. Yeah, because he knows, he's an insider. He knows that that's the plan for America, is to shut down the internet here in America for to exercise control. All right. Now, the next clip I have is this guy here, Henry Makow, basically saying that the globalists created those Egyptian riots. So let's listen in.
Well, for some more views, let's talk now to author and blogger Henry Makow. Well, this uprising has drawn many comparisons, hasn't it, with so-called colour revolutions that we saw in the post-Soviet states. Do you think that there's a foreign influence at work here in Egypt?
There's no question in my mind that this whole uprising has been orchestrated by what I'd call globalists. This is evident from the fact that al-Baradei is being put forward as some kind of leader.
Now, when he mentioned the word globalist, that's a buzzword for the Illuminati. That's a buzzword for the bankers, you know, which is headed by the Rothschild family and also the Rockefeller family. They're in there too. They're the globalists that he's speaking about. I mean, he mentioned certain names, but they're the top globalists. And basically, he's telling you that the globalists created this, and then he uses a term too in the interview of window dressing, because it's all for show, you know. Remember their motto, ordo ab chaos, order through chaos. So we finance the chaos, we bring the chaos, which will lead us to create now order, the order that we want, which is what? The New World Order, which if you go deeper, you know, we that study the scriptures, it's about gaining back their birthright, the elites of Esau, that they lost to our forefather Jacob. So it's all systematic. All right, let's listen in again.
He is a member of the International Crisis Group, sits beside George Soros, and George Soros is known for pretty well instigating all the color revolutions. No question in my mind that this is another color revolution, and that the people of Egypt, while their grievances are justified, their grievances are being exploited in order for the globalists to ratchet up their control of Egypt.
Now, the Mohammed al-Baradei, who headed the UN's atomic watchdog, well, he's well known around the world, isn't he? But he hasn't been that involved in political life within Egypt itself. So how did he come to front these protests?
Well, this whole thing has been organized over the last 6 or 12 months. I suspect that al-Baradei is a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is playing a prominent role in these protests, and probably helped organize them. And the Muslim Brotherhood, if we look into their background, they pretend to be Islamists, but they're essentially a fabrication of the globalists, the MI6, the people who are trying to create a one-world government. And
you hear what he said? It's all about a one-world government. Like I said, it's about the elites trying to gain or get back their birthright that they lost from our forefather Jacob. Remember, he mentioned al-Baradei, which is the guy they want to get in there. He's part of the elites too, and so is Hosni Mubarak. He's part of the elites. All right, so it's all a game, okay? And that's what people are finding out via the internet, and that's one of the reasons why Jay Rockefeller wants the internet to be shut down.
They do this by removing local leaders who are too independent, and I think they must have decided that Mubarak is too independent for their liking.
But al-Baradei, he was chosen, wasn't he, as the opposition's negotiator with the government. So does that mean that the Egyptian people do trust him?
I think they're going to trust him less and less as time goes on. But if you want my opinion, I don't think this revolution is going to work. The revolution color revolutions didn't work in Iran. They didn't work in Thailand. I don't think Mubarak's going to go. I think he's going to sit tight. He's going to perhaps improve conditions for the people, and eventually it'll peter out. They may get 1 million people in the streets tomorrow, but there's still something like 79 million are sitting at home, and I think they want order and they want improved conditions. In any case,
you know, these elites are funny, man. They always call for a 1 million man march, a 1 million man protest. That's how you know it's all set up, you know. You had the same thing over here in America. You had the Million Man March, Million Man Protest. I guess it's something